Guess where we're gonna go? You feel that power? So this morning I had a conversation with my daughter about pursuing one's dreams. Hopefully in a lifetime, more than once, allow ourselves to truly just go for something, whether it's falling in love with a person or falling in love with our artistic traits, in my case here, decomposing and making virtual instruments, but really just try to have a dream and take it all the way. My name is Troels, welcome to Soundpaint, welcome to our 60-piece brass ensemble, our Majestic Brass ensemble. It's comprised of 10 cymbals, 10 bass trombones, 30 French horns, and 10 trumpets in one glorious ensemble that we recorded all at the same time in a big orchestral hall. And I just say that because it's such an extreme concept. The whole Majestic library is a 240-piece orchestra. That's 2 times the size of a normal big-sized orchestra, the largest orchestra ever sampled. And dare I say something that has inspired countless developers ever since. Now, a fair warning before we get into it. If you need to write something very saltasto BBC show intimate kind of thing, this may not be the right library for that. But if you're looking for bolts to the walls, go big or go home, super epic, post-epic type of orchestra, the biggest sound you can possibly get, this is the right video. Before we get into it, let me just mention that we have 2 tutorials from Majestic Brass. We have another tutorial where Colin Fisher is taking you through his entire beautiful composition with Majestic Brass, going into how to use the library in context to other Soundpaint libraries. But in this tutorial, it's just me and you and the library here, just going through a standalone, play through all the articulations kind of thing. Now, if we just briefly look here at the parts, we'll notice that we have a wealth of arcs, bending notes, breaths, Marcatos. We both have standard Marcatos and muted Marcatos, power sustains, and savage hits and savage phrases. I asked the orchestra to behave like savages when they're playing those articulations. They're very raw and kind of dynamic. We also got staccatos, and we also have staccattissimos, just because I'm a short note aficionado and I just want to make sure that we had all the different styles of articulations for short notes as well. Obviously, we have stuff like sustains, we have swoops, different kind of effects as well. The bending notes go both up and down, for example. As we're noticing here in the parts browser, everything is comprised from 3 different microphones. We've got Deca, Mix, and Wide. These are 3 very different colored microphones, all designed for epic music. Mix is already done. You can just put it in and it's going to be super beefy. But if you want to play a little more around with the big hole we recorded in, use the Deca or the Wide or combine them all. They're all phase aligned so you can work them perfectly together. The programs are comprised into 3 main directories. We got our Keyswitches here. And I'm also going to show you how easy it is to make your own Keyswitches in Soundpaint, which you can do in seconds. We have all our main articulations, and then we have our sound labs where we're going to get more creative. But let me just start here with the mains. I'm just going to play through them, show you what this library is all about. Guess where we're gonna go? You feel that power? This is the sort of magic we can only do with an ensemble this big here. Just the basses alone here. Now, this is a long sort of emotional arc, but it's also velocity based. So if I play soft up here, we can just hear the trumpets and the piccolos. It's still soft, but yet with power. Certain notes start to shine more as I play a little bit harder. And then when you go like full on, it's just... I'm a sucker for arcs. Here's a piano to forte to piano arc as well. It's just so like James Bondy, you know what I mean? One thing I love is to play with our rack time module here. We're gonna take this arc and slow it way down. And I can truly sculpt the arc. When I go down here, time is slowing all the way down to freeze. If I move it all the way up here, it's very fast. Time is twice as fast as normal. But for me, like, there's a lot of beauty down here in like those like very slow moving kind of textures. Let me just try the PMF here. So it's a soft arc, and let's try to slow that down. It might yield some really beautiful character. Now, we can use time on arcs, but we've also recorded them at different speeds. Here's a short one, for example. It feels so strange playing something so mundane with a massive brass section. Let me just show you a couple of the bend notes here. We recorded the bends both down and up. You know what I mean? The library speaking. We did two different kinds of Marcatos just because when you have that many brass instruments, we recorded them both with mutes on, which is almost more powerful than the normal Marcato. Let's compare, beginning with the muted here. Compared to the standard Marcatos. Let me just for funsies add the muted on top here as well. Let's take the muted Decca. Man, what a sound. I feel like, let's just be totally wild here. Let's look a little closer at the EQ, what it's doing here. So it's going up here. Let me try to find a band. The way I like to do it is I'll play a sound here, right there, and then find exactly where I want the band, and then I'm gonna put my mod wheel exactly to that point here, and I'm gonna remove the frequency down here, so we just go vertical here. This is gonna be very sharp. So in this next articulation, I took that idea of stacking articulations a little bit further. In this case here, we have our staccattissimos, our staccatos, and our marcatos layered on top of each other as well. So it's actually 180 players per key. If you want to do the math that way, it's just straight insanity, but the good kind of insane. So when I played softly, I'm just triggering the staccatos and staccattissimos. But when I play a little bit harder, we get the marcatos on top of it. If you ever want to build your own parts this way or your own programs, just drag in different articulations here and you can play them together. And in this case here, if you want to trigger one at a certain velocity, for example, the marcato I just dragged in here, I'll just click here on sound mode. And then I'll say velocity block, let's say 110 to 127. That just means that I'm only going to be triggering on the very last velocities of my keyboard to get that muted marcato in there. That's like composer frenzy right there. We also have power sustains. These are pre-mixed sustains, but where we took different kind of notes and mixed them together to create an even more powerful sustain sound. This library is all about like sonic orchestral steroids, if you will. You'll notice that we have a regular sustain down here, but let me just show you what power means. This is such like a movie chord. It's always an honor for me to work with musicians and the orchestra. Every player has their plus 10,000 and then some hours that they've put into the orchestra. So to ask them to behave and play like savages is a humbling proposition. But I did, because I wanted to hear them, if possible, to go in sort of a more tribal condition. So these are more atonal kind of articulations, just designed to offer that aspect of the orchestra as well. Everything is like borderline and insane because it's so big. Let's just be a little bit like savagey on top of it. Why not? I think I'm playing this as a savage too. We also have savage phrases. These are a little bit longer, also in this sort of crazy realm. I've used these so many times. It's funny with these sort of trumpet stabs. You can actually use them in music even if they're not playing the right notes. They just have like sort of a percussive, like very defined attack to them. Da da da. We also have staccattissimos. This is the shortest note in the staccato family. We have staccattissimos, staccatos, and marcatos. I love these ones. These are probably the ones I use the most because they are the shortest note, so they sit the cleanest in the mix. They're good for faster writing as well. I mean, it's almost otherworldly how bright and big these trumpets are sounding. That's about as big as it can possibly sound without getting distorted. Another idea with Majestic is also that everything is laid out. So when you play the strings, you got your basses, cellos, violas, and violins. When you play the brass here, we have the deep brass, the middle range, and the top as well. All playable at the same time, all recorded at the same time. So we have natural overlapping notes between the ensembles here. It's so nimble, it can be played so fast. It's just incredibly rewarding because I have multiple octaves of expression, so many colors at my fingertips here. But try to notice how fast I can actually play it. That's pretty impressive considering how many players are playing at the same time, and is one of the wonders of computers. If you ask that many players in reality to play, they wouldn't be as synced. But I just love the sound here because it's so big, but yet it's precise because it's a staccatissimo note. We deliberately asked them to play it as short as possible, so it has a very sort of short, percussive, attacky kind of effect. Now, let's compare that to the staccato instead. So here's the staccato versus the staccatissimo in comparison. Much shorter, much more pointy, but the staccatos are nice too. I like to use them in the arpeggiator as well. Let's just trigger the staccatos in here. It's big. If you ever want to make it a little bit sharper, right now we can hear the different groups sort of playing like humans do. They're not always completely on the note. But if you want to make it even tighter, slightly borderlining into synthetic, play with our offset module here and dial in the detail here. For me, that's so pretty right there. Even though it's not a traditional orchestra, I still get the round robins, the dynamics, all the benefits of having a true massive acoustic ensemble on my fingertips here, but I can bend it into something new. And I so encourage you guys to do that, to run away with it. Don't just think about the orchestra in traditional fashion anymore. In Soundpaint, we can totally do that, but we can also take it further. I almost like this sound more than the original. And I can also modulate the detail here. So let me just right click here and say add MIDI CC automation, move my mod wheel here. So now I'm controlling both the filter and the offset here at the same time. Okay, I'm gonna save that into our sound labs here. This is too good. Speaking of sound labs, this is where we take our acoustic resources, in this case here, our 60-piece brass ensemble, and bend it into something entirely new using the power of modularity inside of Soundpaint, particularly our matrix here. As we assign different properties to the sounds, we're gonna bend them into different things. Speaking of bends, here's Ambient Bends. I kind of want to try to take the time stretch module here and just slow down this bend here. What does it sound like when a trumpet is super slow bending? We're not done. The next notes need to bend. I sort of hear a wave. You know, time is our friend sometimes. I would never have known that there was such beauty inside of just time stretching, bending notes almost down to freeze. Dark wow arcs. Like the best, like I sometimes dream that we would take the synthesizer and push it forward. We did it with Dave when we built the Prophet X together in terms of the hardware, but when I hear these sort of sounds, what we do inside of Soundpaint, I know that by combining synthesis and orchestra, we have a whole new realm in front of us, which we're really, really gonna explore in Soundpaint here. Like for me, the sound is just so cannot wait to show you what we got coming in our new filter section inside of Soundpaint. It's gonna be like this, but on steroids. We have bends with echoes. Now, we also have a directory with key switches. It's super easy in Soundpaint to build your own key switches. In fact, let me just clear it out entirely here. And let's just say that you wanted to make a new program here. I'm gonna call it Epic Power something. And I'll go into the part directory here, and I'll just find the articulations that I want to build here. So let's say that you're building your own key switches. You want to take some Marcatos here, maybe a big arc. You want to take some Staccatos. You want to take some Staccattissimos and just play that. That was, as expected, very big. But let's say, hey, I want to be a little more organized about this. I dragged all these things in here. I may want to be able to control them on my key switches. Well, go into racks here, click key switch, and now we can see everything we just chose here. We can also see the keys associated to them. We'll notice them down here. These are now active key switches. So I can easily go between the articulations. I can also do different combinations. I can do all of them together, whatever I want. And now if you look down here, we'll see that we got 5 keys with key switches on them here. I can trigger them individually here. I can trigger some of them if I want, or all of them combined. This is one of the novelties in the way we do key switching in Soundpaint. You may be used to the fact that you can only do one at a time. I've always felt that was a little bit like limiting. Why not be able to choose whatever key switches we want in combination so we can quickly try out different colors here. We can try it right now. That's a lot of different colors here, just on a single note. Also, you can do it with different instruments, so you can have flutes and brass or strings together and build your own unique ensembles this way as well. So for me, key switching serves 2 purposes. It's first the idea that I can switch between different articulations. But if you imagine you have 7 different woodwinds loaded, you can now quickly create different colors, different ensembles in real time, switch between them as well. See if the flute really goes well with the alto flute plus the bassoon plus a trumpet, whatever you want to do in quick fashion here, because we can combine all the key switches here. I mean, it sounds pretty nice and it's like full raw condition. If you look here in the main UI, we have our key switch subdirectory and we have 3 different key switch programs. I just wanted to show you how easy it is to build them. The first one here is our longs. It's comprised of different kind of arcs, these beautiful emotional arcs. We have sustains in there. We have longer short notes like Marcato. So generally speaking, like longer kind of notes, also the bends. We also have our main here. This is just designed to offer you everything you sort of need in this Swiss Army knife of articulations. We have different arcs, sustains, bends, staccattissimos, Marcatos, rips, and so forth. We also have our shorts here in case you want to go through all the different kind of short notes really quickly. Let me show you how that works. So I got the key switches down here. I can go through all the different articulations here. I can also combine them, but let me just play them like one by one here. So as you can see, we have all the different short notes light side by side here. We can use the key switches to go through them here. We can also start combining them. Let's say we want like a staccato, but with a short arc on it. Instead of just a short arc, which is... So we can create a little more of an accent by adding that staccato note at the beginning. Almost a little bit like a sforzando. And we can also add a staccatissimo on top of the staccato and the arc. Really defined pointy attack. That also means we can remove the arc and then add it when we want. So we can go like... So by combining different key switches, we can create new colors. We can use them in our DAW as well if you want to have everything neatly laid out within one program here. There's an infinite amount of ways we can do it. I could go on forever about key switches as well, but it just goes to show the modularity and the flexibility of Soundpaint. We really try to make it as easy as possible for you to explore an instrument here, but also take it further, whether that's taking it into the DAW and build advanced key switches and do combinations of them, whether that's going to sound labs or create your own unique explorations of this beautiful ensemble. And as I mentioned earlier on, I just hope you just take this library and bring it along your own sonic journey and show us like what can we really do with an ensemble like this? We don't have to think about instruments as the conventional creatures as they used to be. The computer, the flexibility of having a modular environment just allows us to go so much deeper into the forest and explore new places we haven't been before. This is sort of where the buck stops when it comes to epic music. It really fulfills all my wildest dreams of that big, powerful, dark villain James Bondy kind of sound. I just wanted that super brass ensemble on steroids, on orchestral steroids, if you will. And that is what this became. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for supporting Soundpaint. This is a very personal venture for us. We're not a big company. We're just a gang of people that want to try to do something entirely different for music. It's just our greatest joy and pleasure to have you along for the journey here, and hopefully for you guys just to run away with it and show us how it's done. Go big or go home, take it even further.